Life is rhythm, and rhythm is patterns. And everything is centered around the rhythm of our heart. And as long as we have a heartbeat, right, go for it. It is rhythm, it is patterns, it is a matter of choice, and sticking with that choice, it is a rhythm.
Cora, I'm so glad you're here. You have the best laugh in the times that we've gotten together. You are such a spirit that is just so positive, a light that is beautiful to see and hear. And when you play, there's a magic in your playing that is just so enthusiastic and so in the pocket and fun. You bring that to the table.
Thanks.
All the time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Tell me where music and drumming started in your life.
So truly started as a listener, was with my dad and my mom. They were very much advocates for music. My dad played the B-flat clarinet coming in, and then my mom was dancing all the time. She's from Louisiana, so we were listening to Zucchero music, accordion, you know, just all of that. My dad was a vinyl collector, so we had everything you could think of, you know. So I grew up listening, and I got in tap dance, which I would say my introduction to rhythm, in elementary school, and tried to get in the band in middle school, didn't really work out. But got to high school and actually started playing the drums, playing in the marching band. But middle school was pencils and table beats, you know, beats on the table, that sort of thing. And it just kept evolving. I started with marching band and classical music, you know, learning how to read in high school. And then section leader in the drum section by my 10th grade year, just growing really quickly.
Yeah.
By the time I graduated, I was, you know, much more evolved and went to Howard University and said, okay, you know, I think I'm gonna do this. In my freshman year, like I started the summer before my freshman year, just to adjust, just life happening, and got in the marching band. And you know, once you're in the marching band, it's like,
you're hooked.
Yeah. So schedule was like, put what in the schedule? Do what? No. And I was actually competitive diving at Howard.
Really?
When I went to Howard, yeah, the summer of my freshman year. And then I had to basically change that, take that off my calendar, my schedule, and I just focused on marching band and just kept evolving. I was section leader at Howard University by my sophomore year.
It's amazing. I mean, what's amazing is that your technique and your chops, as we say in playing, it's just so strong and just so powerful.
Thanks.
Hence why you became section leader. I can see that easily.
Yeah.
And did you take any private lessons?
When I got to Howard, I did. So Harold Summey was one of my instructors. Grady Tate, who just passed away.
Oh, Grady,
really,
not
really
only a great drummer, but a great singer.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God. So he was really, really influential in just jazz and brushes and just listening and understanding how to approach any beat. You know, he would always say, listen, baby, you know, if you can dance to it, then you know, they can dance to it. It doesn't matter. He would always say that, you know, he'd have his cigarette and he'd be just his cool self, you know. And so he really helped me see rhythm and my approach to the drum set and other things that I was playing, whether it was classical or otherwise, just how to feel that, you know, whether it's rudimental or whether it's just feel and groove, or whatever. It's just like find that rhythm and you dance in it and everybody else can dance in it, yeah.
Fantastic. You know, many great drummers were also tap dancers.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and there were many great dancers that were also drummers. Gregory Hines and Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly, these guys were great drummers. Yeah. So it's amazing how much has dance helped you in just that process of playing drums?
I mean, I feel like I'm always in the dance, you know? And sometimes I'm literally up dancing, you know? I've been on this tour with Zucchero, the Black Cat World Tour, and I have a lot more freedom. I used to play with Beyonce, play with Prince, you're dancing, you know, you're grooving, and sometimes he'd just be playing by himself, you know, Prince, and then he just want to like, just dance a little bit and then sit back down. So I feel like it's always been there. It's great to even express it a little bit more, you know, as I'm evolving in my own artistry.
But it's a big part of just feeling the groove, as Steve Gaddis said, really great dancer.
Absolutely.
Just to have that ability of being able to move. And I tell my students it's important to take dance.
Yeah.
So that's an important part of it. So where now, after school, you go into where now? How did the professional world?
So I just kept growing. I was gigging a lot. By the time I got to my junior year, I was supporting myself. And my dad's always, his thing was, you can't beat a girl with a plan. He would always tell me that. So anytime I would present something about whatever I wanted to do, I'd have to have it outlined. Like, okay, Daddy, this is what I'm thinking, you know. So I told him that I was making more money and I would save more money if I moved off campus versus the meal plan, and because I was always missing the meal plan because I'd be gigging. So I said, this is tuition, this is room and board, and this is what we're paying for. And I think that we could redirect those funds better, and I can supplement it because I have the resources. So he's like, okay, so junior year, moved out and I just kept gigging more, scholarships, and actually changed my major to music, and really focused, because I was into computer technology and entertainment, information systems, and just like kind of in that, but music just was really there. And so once I graduated from Howard, I did audition for Juilliard's Jazz Studies program, which I didn't get into, but I think it was actually a blessing, because everything has worked out in a totally different way.
Right.
So I was thinking, okay, if I didn't get into this Jazz Studies program, I'm not going to Houston. Nashville is cool, but I was still developing in my recording, understanding. So I'd already gone to IAJE, which was in Long Beach. This was like among the last IAJE conferences that were happening.
The Jazz Educators.
Jazz Educators Conference, yep. I met Sekou Bunch. He was playing with Patrice Rushen. This is my senior year at Howard.
Nice.
And I met Rayford Griffin, who I just saw at
What a great player.
Super, super awesome.
Yeah.
And Patrice. And so basically I was working at the Carter Barron Amphitheater, learning backline, learning cables, learning, just the whole behind the scenes. And I felt like, let me just keep myself in it so as I'm growing I can understand not just the skill, but the behind the scenes and what it takes beyond that,
So the business part as opposed to the artistic side.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
Exactly. So from there, Sekou was like, okay, if you come to LA, and he tells this story, later on of what he saw in me, which was really awesome. But he said, when you come to LA, you call me. I'm going to give you a few people's numbers that I think you should have, So I graduated. Juilliard didn't happen. The first night I went to LA, I called Terry Lynn Carrington. I called Wayne Lindsay. I called Gordon Campbell. Huge Howard alum support. And then just all these numbers that Sekou gave me. And I said on the first night, I was like, I'm going to just get the LA Weekly. I'm going to network. I'm going to jam sessions. I'm going to just meet people. This is, like that. So I get the LA Weekly. I go to the Universal City Studios, Universal City Walk.
Absolutely.
Go to BB King's. And so I'm there, ready for the jam session. And then it's not a jam session. So I'm like, okay, well, just be in the moment and just enjoy the music. So the guys take a break. This guy comes off the drums, and the keyboard player comes down, guitar player comes down. This guy's like, hey, I know you. And I'm like, not on my first day. You can't, there's no way you would know, So he's like, no, I know you, from somewhere. And then he said, Howard University, Fred Irby, Jazz Studies. And I was like, yeah, And it was Lan Richards, fellow Houstonian, Howard alum. And when I was at Howard, I would go to lunch with my jazz band director, and there'd be alum in town just doing gigs, whatever, Blues Alley, and so, or Kennedy Center. And I just want to absorb again, the business of and kind of what was really going on. And he's like, yeah, we went to lunch together. So it's like, yeah, so we're chit-chatting, and his food comes in, he's like, well, what do you want to do? I said, well, definitely want to play. Love to teach. I've always loved to teach and give back somehow. And he's like, well, cool, my food's here. Go sit in, go jam. And I was like, all right.
This is day one.
This is day one, night one, less than 24 hours, And I said, I didn't have a car at the time because I had an oil leak when I was at Howard. Just some other life stuff that nobody teaches you, not really. I said, okay, so I sit in. The guitar player's like, hey, So great night. So the guy who's playing guitar, it's like, let me get your number, really great. So that was a Sunday night, and then Tuesday night I get the call. So Lan and I, we exchanged info, and we say cool and everything. He was just sitting in. So I get a call Tuesday about a gig on Friday, and it's at Alma's house, some Alma gay. So I said, okay, yeah, I'm down. So get my drums, I go to Hertz, rent a car. I would inline skate everywhere, Dom, everywhere. So inline skate to Hertz, go get a car, take my drums, go to the gig. So I get to the gig, and I'm waiting to meet Alma, The guitar player introduces me, and he says, this is Al McKay. founding member of Earth, Wind and Fire, you know, and I'm like, what? Cool. And the guitar player was Phil Upchurch.
Oh my God. Great musicians.
Absolutely. And I played with Phil for 2 years from that first night, from Lan Richards, from Howard, Lunch with Herbie.
So within the first week, not even a week, just 4 days,
yeah,
you're in the thick of it and you're moving forward.
Yeah, in no time.
Do you believe in fate?
It's a balance of yes and no.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, you're destined for some things, you know, and I think that you also resonate in your belief or your knowing of something to happen for you. That also is an alignment, you know.
So what happened next? You're out here, you're working, you're meeting more musicians. So did you kind of settle in at that point?
I was still, you know, I wasn't driving,
Yeah.
right? So I was taking the bus, I was skating, I was renting cars. So I was still very much like on the hustle of knowing this is what I love to do, this is what I want to do. Ended up connecting with Frank McComb, played with him for 2 years in the midst of all of this. Got called after that, just building, you know, my reputation. Got called to play with Pink. Did a run of shows with her, Top of the Pops, before it ended, and you know, a few other really cool shows. And Il Divo, I'd probably played on Jay Leno like maybe 3 or 4 times, you know, maybe 3 times.
You're doing TV.
Yeah.
So what was it like playing in some of the larger venues? Were you prepared for that? Had you ever done that before?
I hadn't.
What was the first one like?
I mean, like at first, you know, you're in it like, okay, my stick bag's here, okay, my drums are here, and then it's like just a sea of people.
Look
and
out,
with
yeah.
Pink, we did Top of the Pops and we did another show. It was literally a sea of people. It was the BBC. It was BBC News something, whatever it was. And I was like overwhelmed, and I just went back into I just have to focus on this.
Right.
Because it can be so daunting. You know, the audience is totally into the music. They're loving her, obviously, you know. Oh, the cue, and the track, and you know, you can lose yourself, you know. So I just said, let me come back to this little 10 by 10, 10 by 10 space and focus, you know.
My little riser.
My little riser.
Exactly right. Let me just stay here. So it's funny, you always seem to speak and live and play in the moment.
Yeah.
Where'd you learn that from?
I think part of, you know, my parents just being around entrepreneurship, you know, puts you, we talk about business, you know, a lot. And sometimes as an entrepreneur, you have goals, you have things that you want to accomplish. And then you have something that might trump something else that you had on the calendar, or relationship, meeting, whatever, because there's something about this that's either more honorable or more optimal or more timely.
Or more financially rewarding.
More financially rewarding, yeah, absolutely. Or just an opportunity to learn something different, you know, that maybe this is just something you know, and then you say, okay, let me just make an adjustment, you know. So part seeing that, you know, growing up in that, and probably not even recognizing it while I was in it, but to now see as an entrepreneur and as an artist and business owner and just spirit entity, you know, being avatar, whatever, you know, of just the power of that, you know. And Eckhart totally talks about the power of now.
Absolutely.
There's so much to experience in the now. So I think it evolved out of that. And then when I was in high school, my band director, Mr. Porters, William Porters, he was teaching us out of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Stephen Covey, what a great book.
Yes.
Good for you.
So, you know, you think begin with the end in mind. That was one of the principles that always resonated. And so to think about how you want to end something means that you manage the now in a different way. You know, so that was also a part of sort of the evolution of my thought process about enjoying the moment.
Boy, that's fantastic. You know, and you mentioned Covey.
Yeah.
Covey's books, First Things First, Principle-Centered Leadership, Think Win-Win. These are, you know, and the 8th Habit eventually that he wrote before he passed away. So it's amazing how you've researched this level of thinking and you've applied this clearly to your life. There's a balance between artistic development and business.
Right.
And you seem to have found that balance. So let's go to the artistic side. You're still playing. You're actively performing. Is there a practicing schedule that works in there?
Not right now.
Yeah.
I'd probably say my practicing is listening. if that makes sense.
That still is practicing, because I mean that's 90% of what we do is we have to listen. That's good for you.
And to even just focus, like I've been just listening to tones, frequencies, 528, 396, and just settling in my thoughts because there's so many things going on, and approaching music a little differently, like just from a different mindset, and then the actual application of that feels different, seems different, my placement or whether I do something or not, is all kind of wrapped in that as well.
That's great, because your technical facility is at a very high level.
Thanks.
Then you have this feel, which dancing probably attributed, so that's a natural part of who you are. The listening only complements that. So now you have the artistic side pretty balanced. So how about the business side? What happens in the business world for you? How do you run the business?
Let's see. Very time sensitively.
Oh, I hear you.
Everything is timing. Life is rhythm, and I always say life is rhythm and rhythm is patterns. And so as drummers, there's certain things that we're able to do a little more effortlessly because we're innately multitaskers, And so I feel like I find the rhythm in business, money and just business in general. There's a rhythm to it in order for it to be successful. And there's a rhythm or a polyrhythm or, a rhythm for it to be unsuccessful too, And so I've been around amazing world-changing thinkers in Prince and Beyonce, and just really embraced, whether it was communicated or just performed, just something that I observed, to see how even they maneuver in business, and that they really are business. Some of the decisions they made became business just because they made that decision. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it sure does. Absolutely, absolutely.
For me, I have also embraced that I am a brand. I'm an entity. I'm a billboard at times, and understanding marketing and what a billboard means and what visibility means and how that plays into cross marketing, whether that's Taco Bell's association with churches or Walmart's association with McDonald's and Target and Starbucks. It's just two brands that are established that agree to do business together.
To create each of their brands to an even higher level. The synergy of that collaboration.
Yeah.
But the fact that you're even thinking about that, the fact that you're even applying that, just shows an incredible deep intelligence that you have for the bigger picture of life.
Sure.
As an artist and a business person. So how do you schedule yourself? Is there a scheduling plan that you have when you wake up in the morning? Or?
In the sense that, I have quiet time in the morning. I don't really let the world in until about 8 o'clock. I work out as often as I can in the morning. That's kind of my rise and shine. Water, very much a water drinker.
Good.
Vegetarian, vegan as often as possible. So that's part of my daily infrastructure. And then I have a couple of entities. So I have the Vivo Club, which is the umbrella for Vivo Publishing, Vivo Productions, Vivo Entertainment. And then I've written literature that is about self-development, so I have Vivo Advisors. So there's that kind of side. And then there's Building Simple, which we've talked about, is my shipping container repurposing construction company.
Talk about that. When you mentioned this to me months ago, I said, what a great idea that this can accomplish so many great things for so many people.
Sure.
Tell me about it.
So basically, it's a turnkey experience, and I take shipping containers that would otherwise be stacked, on each other in some shipping yard.
And discarded,
Discarded, and not really optimal for the environment or anything.
Right.
And I take them and I repurpose them for office space, residential space, recreational. So if someone wants a man cave, I can make a man cave. This year I'll actually be developing temperature-controlled executive storage units for tape, film, like what the guys are doing out there. Yeah. It's great if you're doing digital, but you need a place to store your hard drive that's in a solid, secure, facility, and not anything that can catch on fire and compromise, your work.
Absolutely.
So that is Building Simple. And
they're all made of, they're steel containers.
Solid steel containers,
and you redesign them.
Yeah.
Who redesigns them?
So I'm very much a part of the design process.
I can only imagine you with the welding mask on, getting into the thick of it. I see it.
I know. it's really like still very much right brain, creative, you know.
Yeah.
It's logical in the sense that you are dealing with architecture and you're dealing with dimensions and those sort of things, weight capacity.
Yeah.
But it's still very, very creative, which is what's exciting to me.
Yeah.
But I do have an awesome architect, BJ Kramer.
Yeah.
Basically talk through what the client wants, and then we do hand sketches, kind of get an idea of whether they have land, whether it's going to be something temporary or permanent. So my first client was actually a 12-unit, it's a cottage, holds 12 people. It's 320 square feet, 40 feet by 8 feet, 9 foot, ceilings, 9 foot 6 inches. Yeah. And there's a shower and a sink for the male side and the female side. And it's on an 80-acre ranch. And so, because I'm like baby doomsday prepper a little bit, like I'm always mindful of the environment. So I was thinking it's on a ranch, it'd be great that it could also serve, for safety if anything happens. And actually did really well with Hurricane Harvey. I was stuck in Harvey.
Sure, yeah.
Harvey, so they were able to just use it and it's in great condition, nothing changed. So once we get what the client wants, draw it out, they're cool with it, we can do 3D rendering and they can get a chance to kind of experience it virtually. And then I have a warehouse in Houston, Texas. We bring the container in, welders come in, everybody's looking at their blueprints. Welders come in, then framers come in, electrical, plumbing, insulation, sheetrock, tape, float, paint, whatever the client wants inside. So
fantastic. Well, you really are hands-on with this.
Yeah.
The fact that you know it's 9 feet 6 inches in that is pretty impressive in the process. So where do you get these containers? You got to track them down from someplace.
Yeah, I have a vendor that's at the Port of Houston, which is basically one of the largest ports for containers exporting and importing in the U.S.
Yeah.
And in the world, so everything from China, which is where they're built, Africa, Asia, basically it all comes through for the U.S. through Houston.
Yeah.
Houston's a large hub. And so I get them from there. I have a great relationship with friends over at Bechtel. So once the company gets to probably the third phase as I see it, then I'll be able to just order from China if I want and just have them outfitted.
So you organize all this here. So you're up in the morning, you're on the phone, you're handling, so you're handling the construction business and the music business and everything. So, that takes attention and detail to make that happen.
Sure. And it depends, Dom. If I'm in Houston, then there's a rhythm there, because I'm on site. I have the warehouse and then I have a central office out of containers. So there's interacting with my team and just some of the other ideas that I have, locally with some community development and partnerships that I'm doing in my community and where I was, grew up with my dad and my grandfather, my grandparents and that sort of thing. But then there's the other spectrum of what I'm doing within the music industry in collaboration with Building Simple, the green rooms and that sort of thing. So there's that rhythm. And then there's when I'm on tour, and it's, FaceTime and WhatsApp and, communicating with people and then still being in the music and still being present and we're at dinner, having a great time or we're in rehearsal. And then sometimes on a conference call real quick and I'm gonna call you right back and so it's that,
So you learn to balance and manage all of that so you can maintain the fun, and you mentioned the creative part.
Yeah.
What I like people watching is the fact that the creative part, as long as it's creative, you're there, whether it's designing, a container or whether it's working on music. The creative process has no limits to anything as long as creativity is being fueled.
Sure.
And you do that so well.
Thank you.
That is amazing that you have this entire wide span of what you're doing. You got to tell me about playing the Super Bowl. Listen, anybody playing the Super Bowl would be blown away.
Yeah.
Playing it twice between Prince and Beyonce is a whole different story. Tell me about the Super Bowl experience.
Okay, each artist has, their own amazingness, their own amazing experience. Because sometimes people are like, okay, which one is better? And it's not really a better.
Yeah.
So to have my first Super Bowl experience with Prince, and it's his largest audience viewing and, present audience, that energy was, it was almost like full circle. Because the Florida A&M marching band also performed with us, which, I'd been on the 50-yard line since high school.
Yeah.
So that was just really humbling, man, this is really, really cool. Just this is a lot of people. It's a lot of people.
Yeah.
But just really, really riveting and just the energy of the audience and knowing that they are that excited about music,
Yeah.
Everything kind of comes back to you so so what are you really gonna do with your, cool drums, but like, what are you really gonna do with your career? I mean, like, you get, musicians get that,
Yeah, sure.
But to be able to sit in that space and say, this is what I'm really gonna do. I'm gonna play the Super Bowl with Prince. Like, this is pretty amazing, So that was awesome, to share the stage with him, and just to see people so excited is just pretty amazing.
I mean, it must be surreal because the amount of people that are there immediately, you staying focused on the show itself to perform, it's got to be timed to the second, and then the millions, probably close to billions of people that are watching this worldwide. That's a powerful energy.
Yeah, and so it is like the power again of now, but also that focus and saying, okay, let me make sure, because the thing is, you don't know where the cameras are, you don't know what shot is going to be yours. So you have to literally, like, doesn't matter how cold it is, it started raining, we know, and just regardless of the elements, like, go for it, go in, So that was just super epic, and then to have the second experience was just like, this is epic. I mean, this is.
So what
it's
happened?
history.
Beyonce, and they're going to do the Super Bowl again.
Yeah, and it wasn't even. It just happened. It was divine. So is that fate? It's that kind of thing that I'm proud and excited to say. Like the NFL's top 10 Super Bowls. I think I'm the only one that's actually played in two of those top 10. So that's cool to share the experience with B, which was a totally different experience. Her production.
It's out of this comprehension is really what it is. It's just unthinkable.
Yeah.
But to watch the show, the entire show as well. But I was with a handful of drummers watching this, and we were looking at you, and we were going, check this out. And we were like rooting. This is so great.
Nice.
It really was so great to experience.
Nice, thank you.
What an incredible, that in itself could be written in a book about just those two Super Bowls, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. And just Houston represented, she's Houstonian, so all of that energy is just great, and as much as I am into the details, and I think we're both Virgos, we're a day apart birthday-wise, but to see how engaged and aware she is of the production, everything from the dancers coming out to the guest dancers that were there. There were like, I think a couple hundred girls just around the perimeter, and the pyrotechnics and the elevator, and then Michelle and Kelly coming out, like all of us just like, and she's in it, so we're all just like, excited. So it's exciting. Those two Super Bowls were
a dream that was incredible that you experienced.
Really
definitely,
fantastic. Definitely.
In closing, and I say in closing because I want you to wind it down by thinking of people that are watching this. What information could you give the next generation, or people that are just, even if they're older but looking to still pursue their dream, what could you tell them that they need to understand to do that?
If I would have a few words to share with any age group, it would be that life is rhythm, and rhythm is patterns, and everything is centered around the rhythm of our heart. And as long as we have a heartbeat, right, then the rhythm of your lungs and your walking and your blinking and your thinking, and then those thoughts turning into ideas that turn into words, that turn into behavior, that turns into a habit, that turns into a reputation, that turns into financial or emotional or physical or spiritual success. Go for it. It is rhythm, it is patterns, it is a matter of choice and sticking with that choice, whether you're changing your trajectory, whether you're adding to your experiences, whether you're just exploring for the first time. It is a rhythm. And if you can settle in that rhythm and decide that I'm going to see how this works, and then you'll see the results. That's what I would say.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Cora, you are such a light and such a great role model at so many different levels. I wish you the most success. Continue what you're doing. Make the wave. Just make this a tsunami, because that's really what you have the potential to do, and this is fantastic. Thank you so much on behalf of the sessions. You are just beautiful.
My pleasure.
I love you, dear. Great.
I love you too. Peace, everybody.
Yeah.